Rightio, take two. We are back. um, Comedy of errors, that was. I will say, put my hand up. I didn't have this computer plugged into the PowerPoint, so it just turned itself off. And that absolutely destroyed everything. So I do apologise to that. We had Brad Steele and Jeffrey Dixon on. I do have to change my Origin leaderboard already because Jeffrey said that Queensland will win. Get involved in that as well if you like. Nick Hooper, hello, my friend. And for the second time, welcome.
Always a pleasure. Always. Are we still on air?
Yeah, we are. Yep, we're still on air, but you just went a bit funny. We're good now. You can't hear me? I can hear you, mate. Not sure if Nick's here or not. I'm still here. Can you not hear me, mate? Something's gone wrong with Nick's system now. I've got good service. I'm sending out a good stream. And I reckon my man's in trouble. Can you not hear me, mate? I'll send him a text message. This is a good show. This show tonight. This has got everything happening. I'll let him know that I'll send him a text message.
Yeah. I'm here. Okay,
there's a delay there somewhere. We've got an audio. We've got a website glitch, I think, mate. Just checking something.
I can hear.
No, we should be good to. You can hear me now and see me?
Yes, I can.
Right, so we're back. There was a little bit of something going on. Not sure what, mate. It's what it is. It's been one of those very, very strange nights tonight. Hopefully this picks up a little bit because I think there is a slight delay in the audio between you and I, but it should come better very, very shortly, mate. Firstly, thank you for joining me and what's been a very, very trying night.
That's all right. All good. Always a pleasure to be with you, and hello to everyone out there watching.
Yeah, now we are live on YouTube, on Facebook and YouTube. Dickhead. Right. Hey, Nick, don't stress. You wait till you hear this one. Rightio. Now we are live on Facebook as well. So we've had a few issues. Nick got a little bit Darth Vader-ish on me for a minute and that, but we are back. Hello to you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, going well. Going well, thank you. All good.
The people on YouTube would have been watching. They would have been seeing all of that. The people on Facebook weren't because I forgot then to hit one other button. And that button, of course, was the go live button. So, yep. But anyway, we are there. We've got David Brick watching, which is good to see. Bricky, we're going to try and get a little bit of Queensland content in a little bit later on. If you are watching on YouTube, get involved. And if you're watching on Facebook too, please get involved. We want to know who's going to win. I reckon Bricky be going for Queensland because most Victorians go for Queensland anyway. The fact that he's living up there is part of that as well. Live comments can't go onto the show, unfortunately, tonight. I apologise for that. We're not even going to start because the show won't be finished by the time I start. But yeah, the last glitch I had, I didn't put the PowerPoint plug in. So we've had everything going on. But anyway, we're good to go, mate. How have you found the last couple of weeks of harness racing, my friend?
Really, it's good to get a few of the nice races going. Let's start with Queensland and the big upset on Friday night at Redcliffe and District Attorney Jason Grimson stable knocking off the big gun in Leap to Fame. I don't know whether Chris Barsby is at a hospital. I don't know that he wasn't capable of speaking there just after the race there for the moment. I'm just checking in on his whereabouts and well-being.
There are a lot of people that claim to be Leap to Fame's #1 supporter. Chris is definitely up there, and yeah, he was shell-shocked. Fair to say.
Absolutely. Distinct improvement in District Attorney in his last two starts. Knocks off. Arguably, maybe it's not even arguable, Australia's best pacer, and it adds an extra element as we head into the Queensland Carnival in coming weeks.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty good to throw this little bit of intrigue, and there's been more intrigue in the last couple of days. We did have Brad Steele on. He might have actually had to get on his plane by now. He's heading over to New Zealand to take up his new venture, and there's some pretty good stories coming out of New Zealand as well very, very shortly. But he'd be a bit sad, I think, in two ways, leaving Queensland right at the start of this carnival, although he's going on to, bigger and better, we'll say that for his sake, but bigger and better, but also the cold weather. He's in for a hell of a shock when he steps out at Christchurch, because flying in midnight, it's going to be freezing when he walks out of the Christchurch customs.
Yes, I can only hope that in his carry-on he puts some thermal underwear that he can change into in the toilets before he gets out, because I was in Brisbane the week before last visiting family, and by geez, it was nice to be in the sunshine in 19 and 20 degrees compared to the slightly colder environs of Victoria, and Christchurch perhaps even a step colder.
Yeah, it will be. And he's got to go to Invercargill for some announcements. There's some very good news coming out there, and we will touch on that in a minute. They are actually racing at Echuca tonight too, with some big cards. Good to see early finishes, Nick. There's, I think, 11 races tonight. The last race is at 9:30. This time of year, that's ideal, I think.
I think it's good for everybody, isn't it? The participants get home at a reasonable hour. For the punters, they're able to finish up their punting and keep focused on races while they're still awake, as opposed to 11 o'clock. And we get some of the turnover in the late or the early evening period, where maybe not on a Wednesday night, but somewhere in the pubs. Obviously, that'll all change when daylight saving kicks in a few months. But I'm sure the participants are appreciating.
Yep, absolutely. And it is a tough time of year. Awards, we're going to touch on those tonight. We're going to touch on quite a few things right through the night, so we want people to get involved. The awards were at Melton in Victoria last week, much more scaled down, well spoken about, the way the industry is heading and the likes, but still we've got to celebrate the worthy recipients at the other end of it.
That's right. I'm sure that everyone would rather we were celebrating in fine style at Crown. We know why it didn't occur. That would be awfully disappointing to some of the those that have won the awards, but everybody knows that it's not everyone's preferred set of circumstances. Nonetheless, some amazing winners. Well done to Jess Tubbs, Greg Sugars, Just Believe, the owners, all the connections there. Yabby Dam Farms is the breeders and the owners as well. Wonderful to see that wonderful trotter recognised with that award.
Yep, and so he should be celebrated. I think he's going to go pretty close to getting the 2024 award as well, Nick. That would be a fair chance, I think, the way he's tracking right at the minute. Just Believe at the early part of this season, anyway.
That's right, and look, who knows what tomorrow holds, let alone the rest of the year. But talking to Greg Sugars a week or two ago, he was very pleased with the way that Just Believe had come through his New Zealand trip and got back, and he and Better Eclipse were enjoying one of the front paddocks at Lara J Farm when I visited there a couple of weeks ago. Both of them were in good order, and Just Believe, as usual, was up for a carrot. So it's a lot of water to flow under the bridge, but both of them are great examples of longevity. I mean, many horses have shortish periods at the top, and that's the trials and tribulations of Grand Circuit racing. It takes a lot out of the horses. Just Believe and Better Eclipse have been really well looked after, amazing longevity, and I think that their owners will be looking forward to the second half of this year with big races coming up. So let's hope they can both stay in good order at the top of their games, and love to see them back again.
They returned the Unit Dominion. That is well and truly on their radar. I think a couple of other things might have gone by the wayside. There was a few rumours circulating they might have gone by the wayside. But 3 years ago, in a different stable, Just Believe really announced himself. I remember talking to the owners when he missed out on a Derby run And they were filthy because they knew the sort of horse that they had, and I think they'd been justified. But I remember being there working for, I don't know who I was working for, someone, but yeah, the boys, they were livid that they didn't get in. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's a nice horse. Then a year later, he went to Sydney to the Inter-Dominion. 3 years later, he's returning to Sydney, like that start. The other horse I find interesting, Just Believe's been outstanding. He's been at the top probably since that Inter-Dominion. I think he's sort of really announced himself. Two-time, is he two-time Southern Star winner? Yeah, he is. I think he is, yeah. Travelled the world, two-time Inter-Dominion winner, done everything that a trotter could do, including a Rowe Cup now in New Zealand, really stamped himself and has been there for a long time. But I reckon Better Eclipse, even nearly a year ago, a lot of people would have said, oh, yeah, he's a nice horse. And then he's just got better this year.
Yeah, the way that he won the Auckland Cup was very fitting. Again, Greg and Jess picked him up, partway into his career. I was there the night that at Angle that he won the Chariots of Fire, and whilst he hasn't been as dominant as Just Believe has, his consistency at the top level has been incredibly admirable, and it really was a well-deserved win in Auckland, because it's very hard to go overseas and win whichever way you're travelling. That achievement, I'm pretty sure Mick Guerin tweeted out soon after, it's the first time that a trainer's ever won both of those races on the one card. I'm pretty sure that that's right. Someone will correct us if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Mick put that out. It speaks to the quality of the horses, but the quality of the Lara J team. Got to put my hand up and declare that I've got horses in there, so I'm a little bit biased, but they really do a wonderful job, and that achievement is an indication of the quality of what they're able to produce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, he's a fitting horse of the year this year. And he will get better next year. Joe Post, hello to you. He'll be after a hat, Nick. He'll be wondering where you got that hat from. Every guest I get on, he asks for the hat. That actually is a pretty snazzy hat, I must say.
You know where I got this hat?
Yep. Yeah, the Prix de Maurice. Yep.
Was talking to Ash Haynes on Saturday night, and I think he's keen to go and do a Prix de Maurice, and we all want to do an elite lop, and I had the pleasure of doing that last year for the first time. And the Prix de Maurice in Paris, if you can get yourself there in January, it is just as good as the elite lop. So do it. It's well worth it. And you get these funky hats.
I don't know how I'll go in January, but I will try. And we've got to do a few other things. I am going to, myself and Mark Hughes, going to the Vincent Delaney Memorial in August, second week in August, and that's meant to be huge. And everyone says, oh, it's beautiful, it's out in the paddocks. This year's different. It's actually at Wolverhampton in London. So it's actually going to be at a proper racetrack. So it's going to be a great couple of days to be there too.
Pretty sure Wolverhampton's not in London.
No, sorry, in England. Sorry. Yes. But yeah, it's
Wolverhampton's a very, very, very outer suburb of London, if that's
I'll know better when I go there. Nellie Melba, hello to you, Nellie. Good to have you back on too. Just goes to show that you have to be patient with trotters, and you do. But if you are patient, they just excel. I did actually have it to go to Arasta Trotters. I forget how many winners. I think there was 13. Orlando Vici, Love You, and News to Me. Orlando Vici and News to Me are both by Love You, are they not? No. Orlando Vici might be Ready Cash Horse. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They had an amazing amount of winners. So, yeah, I know Used to Me definitely is a Love You horse. But, yeah, it was about 13 winners for the week in Australia and New Zealand. The odd one out on that, though, was, and they publicised it, Orlando Vici left a pacing winner for the week. So it was there as well. You're looking it up, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, because it's the old story of if all else fails.
Google it.
Yeah. Now, Used to Me is a Nuage Delay horse out of a Cocktail Jetmare.
Yeah, I'm not even one bit close, actually. Yeah,
I think they might have. Yeah, that's about yes. Orlando Vici is a Quadrifenio horse out of a Workaholic mare.
Geez, I've gone well. None from none.
None from none. So, yeah, and of course, Love You is a cocktail by Cocktail Jet. So out of an Onde Arifont mare. How's my French accent going?
Yeah, because you've been over there, you think you got it. Wait till I go over there and I learn proper English. I'll be in all sorts. I'll be able to butcher so many words it's not funny. See, Joe Pace, he wanted to know if you had a spare one of those. What we will do, I'm just going to double check that this is going to, I'll just punch it. Yep, there we are. I can get rid of that one and I can get rid of these two here, Nick. This is just a list of the winners from Melbourne the other night. They're in, but we might go backwards if you like, with the 2-year-old pacing filly, very pretty. Step in anytime you like, Nick. Timmy Richter, the 2-year-old pacing colt of the year. They both trained by Emma and Clayton? Yes, they are.
Yes.
Violet Stratford, 2-year-old trotting filly with Kivoli Maven, the 2-year-old trotting colt. It was a little bit of an interesting sort of selection, I suppose, for those two horses.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the awards, most people would have said, yep, they were the obvious winner. There's always the odd category where it's a little more even and there isn't a standout, and then it becomes a little subjective, and perhaps the winner might have polled the most votes, but it probably would have been a little bit closer, and so you do get a bit of that in these awards.
And the other part of it is too, when you look at a couple of these other horses here, Major Delight and Petrarca, we're talking about those horses as 4-year-olds, rocking with attitudes, has embarked on her 4-year-old career, and the Locomotive is not too far away. This was a year and a half ago, effectively, really, when it finished. So it finished in January or end of December last year. So a lot of these horses are a while ago. And then you get to the 4-year-olds with Encipher, Catch a Wave, Gadina Ronda, and then Plymouth Chubb. Like, that was the one that stood out to me just there before when I was looking at them, and I was like, oh yeah, because it's a year and a half ago, and we had that great year with Joe Pace's horse, all those 4 trotters. It was just looking outstanding for the 4-year-old trotting ranks and 5-year-old trotting ranks here in Australia, wasn't it? In Victoria.
Yeah, very, very strong group, and over the last 12 months, and yeah, we're halfway into this calendar year and season. We've seen that group, continue to race on. So, which is great for our open class ranks.
Ladies in red, continuing on, Honolulu Bay, Queen Elida, trotting mare of the year, and she's a bit forgotten. And then, of course, Just Believe being the age trotter of the year, and then also horse of the year. Kate Gaff, Metropolitan Driver. James Herbertson, well done to him. I didn't realise he won both awards. I saw it's a bit harsh that you see him in his driving gear, and I just assumed he'd got driver of the year, but of course he was the concession driver of the year. So you'd have to go back a fair way for that to have happened, Nick, I reckon, twice.
I was just thinking that, and I think it's something that we might just ask the good folk at HRB to see if they can look into the records and see if that has actually ever occurred. Perhaps it has, but it wouldn't happen too often. Someone will probably come up and say it happened 2 years ago, but well done to Herbie. It's a great performance.
These are. So is this the leading driver for the year, or is this who they select?
No, these are the leading drivers. So when you look in the race book, you've got the tables towards the back of the race book. These are the winners. Emma Stewart naturally winning the 2 Trainers of the Year awards, and has done so for a number of years. So well done to her. And then, we get into the broodmares.
Yep. Elderbourne Park Victorian Trotting Broodmare of the Year was Just a Phoenix, the mother of RC Phoenix. Oh, and the other horse whose names escape me, Quinceria, I think it was, that won a couple of races. Horse was trained by Glenn Conroy. I know the horse, I just can't think of his name. Benside Standardbreds with the Broodmare of the Year with Copper Good One. Both those horses actually reside at Benside, which is a quite little, a bit of irony, if you like, in there. But, of course, the other unfortunate part is Copper Good One's no longer with us, so that's a little bit unfortunate. The Woodland Stud Victorian Breeder of the Year was Redbank Lodge, which is the Carlafelts. So that was an interesting one, Nick, with the I'll come back to you for a sec. The Victorian New South Wales breeder, I suppose, breeding the winning here in Victoria. And I think I read where he had 29 individual winners here in Victoria
It's a
last
substantial,
year.
yeah, substantial number, and congratulations to Paul. It's a fine achievement, and nice to see him and his family recognised. And very competitive, that award every year, and there's been the usual run of big names won it over previous years, and so nice to see Paul getting recognition.
Yeah, Timmy Richter was one of those horses. Of course, Swayze leaped to fame, but I don't think he may have only had a couple of starts down here, but let us reason. But it was actually not just, when you hear their name, you think, oh yeah, that'll be just off the back of Leap to Fame and those sorts of horses. But it actually wasn't. I think Timmy Richter won 4 or 5, and that sort of helped. But yeah, it was quite a few horses going along there. As well, Michelle Arnett's chived in. Good to see you remembered her name, Lucy, that is, of course. But it was written down for me, Michelle, so I shouldn't have forgotten. Now we go to a few of these others here. The Lang Distinguished Services Award, Clinton Welsh, Terry Lewis and Chris Hunter, and I'm sure each of those 3 gentlemen will be wrapped with those awards.
Absolutely, well deserved. All of them have put in over many decades, and their contribution to the sport. It's lovely to see this award and that recognition for it. I mean, none of us do it for awards, but when you get that recognition, it is something special. So well done to them. Terry, of course, a former president of HBV and currently the president at Horsham, and does a great job.
No, absolutely, and passionate. All 3 of them are very, very passionate. That's one thing we'll say about the 3 gentlemen. David Aiken, Caduceus living legend, I think very fittingly. I think Akey was a bit taken back, which he might be entitled to be taken back too. But yeah, he definitely deserved that award. Just Believe, we spoke there before about the Victorian Horse of the Year, what's done. It should be the Australian Horse of the Year for the promotion of harness racing, I believe, anyway. The Pearl Kelly Award, Georgie Coram. I saw some photos. I don't think Georgie was expecting this award, Nick.
No, I'm on the Cranbourne committee with Georgie, and we celebrated her last night at a committee meeting, and she and her family go back a long way into the sport. Georgie has done a lot of very good things, often in the background, but her family's connection with Cranbourne is very strong, and she's always around with a smile on her face, and makes a great contribution to the Cranbourne committee that she's on at the moment.
Do a few podcasts, and I don't know whether it was Teddy or Graham Wilson, but when they were kids, they used to go to their farm, her dad's farm, to work all their horses and things like that. Like, so, yeah, I'll see if a horse was ready to win. If a horse was ready to win, they'd go to their farm and they'd go from there. So, yeah, it was quite a unique one there. And then the Gordon Rothicker medal and Lance Justice. Congratulations, Lance. He's taken on a new role as well now. So he keeps contributing to the industry.
He does. One of Lance's first horses that really hit the big time when he was in South Australia was a horse called Mike's Choice, and that goes back to the very late 80s, early 90s, and I first started following the sport and would be in the betting ring at Moonee Valley, and Mike's Choice would be running in the free for all, and he could do amazing things over there, and that's my first memory of Lance, being in the big time, and obviously came across to Victoria and Smoking Up, Sokiola, many other good horses. He has just done a wonderful job over such a long period of time. Incredible quality, but also horses that, again, like we talked about with Just Believe, they weren't horses that just wandered in, won a couple of races and wandered off. They had great longevity, which speaks to the horse and their constitution, but it speaks to the management of the trainer to be able to get the best out of a horse over the long term. Well done, Lance, and you should be very proud.
Yeah, and he's in a new role too, and a couple of people spoke to me about it. But if you have issues and you want to talk to someone, that's pretty much what Lance's job is. I mean, he's not there to solve all the issues, but he's there pretty much to help liaise between the racing office, and head office and try to break down a lot of the barriers and try and get things moving a lot quicker as well. Plus he helps with the race day runnings and things along those lines as well. It's a pretty cool role he's got, and I think people should utilise him a little bit more often.
Yeah, I'm sure that as he settles into the role and everyone settles into him being in the role, being new, that hopefully there can be a lot of those positives that you've mentioned and good things to come. He's very experienced, well connected, a good appointment, I think. We'll see how it rolls out as to how effective it is, but it won't be for lack of trying, I'm sure.
No, definitely won't be. We're going to keep rolling with some of these awards for the minute, Nick. We'll go to, I'll just give it full screen, the HBV ones. And of course, Just Believe, the Victorian Age Trotting Male of the Year, very, very fitting, very well done. Well done to Minitube as well, as looking after the sponsors. We'll try and look after as many of the sponsors as we can. We've spoke about him, but you can just see in that year he won 3 Group 1s and 2 Group 3s in that season, so the 2023 season, Nick. So that's testament to how good a horse he was back, a year ago.
Yeah, had a wonderful 2023. And again, when you consider that included a trip to Sweden and everything that went with it, he gets talked about now in the same breaths as some of our absolute greats. And it may well be in 6 months' time that if he can continue the way that he's going, he'll be arguably the best we've ever seen. Some will say Mary's Idol, others will say Scotch Notch. Some will say, some of the Kiwis
Lyle Creek
done amazing things. Don't forget Fritz either, Paul. He was pretty incredible. And if you don't know how good Fritz was, just have a look at what he did for the sport 100 years ago. So Just Believe, love him. Fantastic horse.
Yep, absolutely. The Victorian Aged Pacer of the Year, Honolulu Bay. I'm not sure where he's at. I think he was still in work, this horse here. And, you talk about longevity. Lauriston, he's a gelding. They love him. They don't probably need to race him, but I think they just love the horse and love racing him.
Yes, sponsored by Northern Rivers Equine. Lauriston have all their horses up there. I'm sure Kath would tell us that I'm pretty sure she probably delivered him back in the day.
I don't think she can claim him, but the rest of them she can.
All right, fair enough. It's just about all the others she can. It's a lot of them come out of there. Great breeding. Some beach somewhere out of an Arts Place mare. How good is Arts Place on the dam side of a pedigree? Great strength. Honolulu Bay, well done to Lauriston.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, isn't it, when you look at both he and Just Believe, plain little bay horses. You know what I mean? Like it's not all about the fanfare and those things as well. So yeah. Got a couple of comments. I'll get to those comments in a sec. We'll just keep going through these awards as we're going. Again, sponsored by Northern Rivers. Thank you for reminding me to say that, because they've got to make sure we look after as many sponsors as we can in this industry. The Age Pacing Mare of the Year, again, this goes to Lauriston. This is, of course, with Ladies in Red, who is coming to the twilight of her career, but just been an outstanding mare herself, hasn't she?
She's just been incredible. Absolutely incredible, and can't wait to see what she will do in the breeding barn. Again, most likely up there at Northern Rivers Equine, Lower Long Farm is where she'll probably end up, I'd say, and just keeps on going. So I'm assuming, or maybe it's been announced, that I'm not sure, that she might be hitting the breeding barn this spring. I don't know whether that's true or not, but she'd have to be getting close, I suppose.
I do think I was speaking in our school. I think there was some discussion when she was at Menangle that it would be the last time she'd race around Menangle. So I think after the Queensland Carnival, the decisions will be made then. So it may not be set in stone, but I do know when I was up there for the QE2, that was one of the discussion points about her career. It might be the last time we see her at Menangle. So it will be getting close anyway to the end. Victorian Breeder of the Year, Paul Carlefeld and Redbank Lodge, 26 wins from by 9 Vicbred starters. So that's terrific. And then if you want to be a breeder, look at those stats and look at how much prize money he's won, $1.2 million in stakes, Nick. And sponsored by Woodlands. I will get into trouble.
No, absolutely. You're always in trouble. So they're remarkable stats, and I think that speaks to a wonderful season. I'm sure Paul is smiling that big, just walking around the place these days. You'd be feeling good about what you've achieved over a long period of time.
Yeah, him and Nick, Mark Hughes, standing side by side at the presentation would have been a good sight, wouldn't it? They both got the grey hairs and wave them back. It would have been good photos, but unfortunately Paul wasn't there. Nick, but Mark definitely was, so that's for sure. Cop, a good one. We said here before, Victorian Pacing Broodmare of the Year, 2 starters, $877,000 in stakes with Catch a Wave and Yambuckian for that. That's for the 2023 season, of course. Catch a Wave won the Miracle Mile, I believe, that year. Am I right? Yeah, it would have been, yes.
Yeah, and then, of course, went over to Perth earlier this year and won their slot race. So well done to Andy Gath. And, and then there's the day that Yambuckian beat Catch a Wave. And brothers like beating brothers, don't they?
They do indeed. It was the same time, wasn't it? It was Swayze beat Leap to Fame. But anyway, we digress. Ash Haynes, Aldebaran Park, Duncan McPherson with Just a Phoenix. I know he's got a great association with Ash Haynes and the whole family, and also Christopher Shaw, who's not in the game now, but he was definitely part of this legacy with the Phoenix name.
Yeah, and so I spoke to Ash Saturday night, congratulated him. The Phoenix horses, he's got a wonderful group of them, many of them related, but not all of them. They all have the Phoenix moniker. You keep on producing good quality horses, a well-deserved victory in this category.
Catch a Wave for your Pacer of the Year, $868,000 in stakes, sponsored by Renowned Silverware.
Yes, again, Captain Treacherous, Christian Cullen, Blood, just a wonderful, big, strong horse. You got to love Catch a Wave.
Most of these horses are plain bays. And then we get Gardena Ronda, actually by Victorian Trotting Mare of the Year. And she, of course, by used to me, a horse that does stand at Yabby Dam Farms, or Harass the Trotter, sorry, another sponsor. But Mini Tube, of course, sponsor this one. But used to me is only, I think, $2,000 or $3,000. He's not a lot of money, is he?
No, it's and he's done a very good job at that price for breeders who are playing in that at that end of the stallion pool. They've a lot of them would have been very happy with what the progeny that they've got when putting their mares to use to me.
And thank you very much to Mini Tube as well. Renowned Silverware, 3-year-old Trotting Colt of the Year, the Locomotive. I think Trotting's in a good boat if Wayne and the crew can get this bloke back racing, because he's an exciting horse that hasn't been seen for a little while, and he's a horse that we need back racing, mate.
I think the Locomotive, hang on, let me just check that. I think I saw him. Yeah, he raced on the 8th of June. He was back. He in an 80 to 105 race. So just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Only ran 9th and obviously needed the run, having not appeared since November. But yes, looking forward to what he does over coming weeks. That breeding, La Cucaracha, says it all. And she's been a wonderful broodmare and speaks volumes for her production with this fella.
No, absolutely. APG sponsor the Victorian 3-year-old Pacing Colt of the Year with Petrarca, another of the Captain Treacherous out of Loveliest, Bruce and Craig Cameron, who fly well and truly under the radar as breeders.
They do a wonderful job consistently getting high-quality horses to the racetrack. Let's hope the equine Petrarca is not on the sidelines like the human version. But he's been a very, very good 2- and 3-year-old, well-deserved win here by him and the Camerons.
Yep, absolutely. Jeffrey Dixon's a one-eyed Melbourne supporter. So's Daniel Hibbard, and so's actually Mark Hughes. So there's quite a few of them out there. I'll be hoping she gets back. 2-year-old pacing filly of the year. Very pretty by American Ideal. We speak about Woodlands. They're the American ill-fated now, unfortunately, American Ideal. Out of the good times, what a mare she was. And this was sponsored again by APG.
Yes, Peter Gleeson, another long-term successful breeder. Would have been thrilled with the way Very Pretty went through the season. Was just fantastic. Such a fast filly, you know, and showed immense bottom as well. So what she will do as a 3-year-old, we will see.
Yep, and they're the nominees. So, yep, we know who the winner of that was. I'll get off that screen so we don't have to stress over that. Of course, was Peter Judd, who was one of the 3 nominees. I think it was Peter Judd, Pat Driscoll, because he had 2 of those, and Carla Felds as well. Jeffrey Dixon had a great 23 season and must already be favourite for the 24 season. I imagine he's talking about Just Believe. And then Greg Streeter, Whirly Dream, way before Mike's Choice, 93, I think. He was only about 14-2. I reckon the claim to fame with Whirly Dream. You don't remember Whirly Dream and Lance?
No, I do. He was just before I started, but absolutely right. So he was mid to late 80s. I'm just going to
Google it.
So you go.
No. Well, isn't he the horse that they? Because did someone else train that horse for a while?
Well, yeah. If I can work out how to spell his name, I'll find him.
If Greg spelled it right, it's WHIRLY and then Dream, but not sure if that's spelt right. But I got a funny feeling he might have spent the night in a float, because the boys might have stopped at the pub one night and got up in the morning and thought the horse had been stolen. If it's not him, it was a good horse like him anyway back in that era. And they had a very big panic attack, but then they walked past a float and here he was standing on the float.
Again, that's absolutely right. And again, it just speaks to Lance's ability to get a really top class horse.
Yeah, I think someone else trained him. It definitely wasn't Lance that did that. He'd lose his Gordon Rothicker if that was the case. But yeah, he was a little while ago. Yeah, I do remember Mike's Choice. Did Mike's Choice throw you under the bus, Nick? Did he win an Italian Cup at Moonee Valley?
He did come across, and I reckon, and I think you might be right. So let's just go to the find him, and yeah, I'm having all sorts of trouble. I can't get him either. So something's going on.
It's not just me. It's your end as well.
Having troubles. I can't get that to work. So anyway, let's do something else.
It doesn't matter. Right, that's most of the winners. We will say congratulations, Chris Elford, winning the Bob Conroy award for the VSTA. I just got to make sure I get it right. I think it's the Bob Conroy Excellence in Trotting Award, and I'm sure Chris is very, very happy with that. Good photo of him. I might be able to get that up. Actually, we should be able to get that photo up there with his great friend Anne-Marie Conroy, and I'll whack that picture up there. So they were, of course, at Sunday at Bendigo. So I'm sure Chris, that'll be pride and place at Chris's heart, because I know he's been a long-time friend of those. He gives them a hard time, as only Chris Elford can. But yeah, so that congratulations to him. There's not a list of the other VSTA awards, and I haven't seen them anywhere else. So I do apologise for those. But I'm going to bring up. So there was also once they come up, the TCV, Trots Clubs Victoria Awards as well the other day. So the Club of the Year was Ballarat. I can probably, no, it doesn't matter. They can look at you and me. If you like, Ballarat Harness Racing Club with a Club of the Year. So well done to those guys. Employee of the Year, Ben Murphy at Kilmore, and pretty exciting stuff what they're doing at Kilmore, Nick.
Looking forward to seeing the new setup there, which should be available very shortly. I don't know the date, but
July 4th, next Thursday. Tomorrow.
Thank you. And yeah, given the new sheds at Cranbourne, I think they're going to be a similar style design at Kilmore. It'll be well and truly appreciated by the participants being able to get out of the cold and the heat. We'll see how it goes with both of those. So well done to Kilmore, and I think the lights might have been upgraded as well.
Yep. Yeah, I think there was maybe a sticking point on a couple of light posts, but I believe that's been sorted and they should be all good to go. I got to get to Cranbourne. I must do that one day. Jump in the car and just go to Cranbourne on a Sunday because yeah, it's pretty cool, that part. Employee of that was employee volunteer of the year, Sharon Ralph from Ararat. Sharon baked my daughter 2 sponge cakes, Nick. So she deserves every reward she gets because I tell you, she makes a mean sponge cake. There's not a worry there at all. Deborah Hildebrandt from the Elmore Harness Racing Club and Jared Maloney, who's always great on this show as well. So congratulations to those guys for being the volunteers of the year. And that's it, because the next part goes, well done, Tormey Stable. They must have, because it's off the Charlton one, they must have had a good couple of winners as well. So, yeah, I'll pinch that off the Charlton Facebook page. So a little bit hard to find some of those ones. But it's good to see these awards. Hopefully next year, Nick, we can bring them a bit further forward so they're fresh in people's minds.
Yes, one would hope so. Yes, pick a date a little closer and yes, because otherwise we're all struggling to. I can't remember what happened last week, let alone 18 months ago.
Yeah, it's just as I say, when you look at some of those horses there, it's like, wow, seriously. Like, I mean, Just Believe's easy because you just say, oh yeah, he's been the best trotter this year. So that part's, and even Catch a Wave to be truthful. But yeah, some of those younger horses, you're like, wow, I can't actually remember them. Right out. What else did you have for me? I've got Alan McDonough, 7 wins, outstanding effort at Tasmania on the weekend.
Absolutely, it's well, that sort of number doesn't occur too often. Yes, well done, Al. Absolutely first-class performance. Down there on a working holiday, came home with a bit of cash. Well done.
Yep, and you just keep stalling for a sec because I can tell you they actually listed the drivers that had done it. Now, as long as I'm on the right page, I'm sure it was Tasmania the Tasmanian Trotting Club that actually it might not have been. It might have been HRV actually that said it, but it's only been done by about 4 or 5 other people, and yeah, I can't remember all of those people, but it's just an amazing stat. I don't want to go off because you gave me one other thing to. Oh, that's okay. I've got that right. I can do it this way. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, brilliant effort, I must say. And just one other one, Nick, before I get to you with some of your stats. Pacing for Pink at Menangle, I see they announced that they raised $7,271 for that Queen Elizabeth II night that I was actually there for breast cancer. So I think that actually is a great stat. And Philip Wood is right. Yeah, he's right. I thought it was the O'Briens. They trained Whirly Dream, and then Lance got him in his later years, and they were. So I'm pretty sure Philip, just text me in or tweet it in either way or message it in. But I'm pretty sure they were the boys. That was a horse that may have been. Yeah, there was a hell of a fright. They reckon they got up. Someone stole our horse, and they forgot to put him off the float. So anyway, what else did you have for me? I've got a few things, but yeah, you tell me what else you've got, mate.
Look, almost 2 weeks ago, HRA slipped out one of their little late on a Friday press releases. It was an industry notice on the stallion registration stats. So this was for the 20. Yep, thank you. That's exactly right. So for the 2022-23 breeding season, God, 2022. It's a bit of Richie Benno going on there. So 177 stallions registered, 119 pacing, 58 trotters, and there was obviously the invoices were issued for the very controversial fees, and $920,000 was contributed by the breeding industry in those stallion registration fees. It's a hell of a lot of money. We can debate the merits of it one way or the other, but it's interesting that it was close to the budgeted figure. The number of mares served, 4611, a reduction of 3.5%. And we know that the number of mares served has continued to decline over a long period of time. What was interesting was the last paragraph, and it's a figure that doesn't get talked about a lot because you can breed a certain number of horses, but the question partly is how many of them get to the racetrack. And I thought this was interesting. So basically from 48% of foals born pre the national rating system, we've now got 59% in 2023 who are being utilised. In other words, they're getting to the races. So an increase of 10% and also a 16% increase in individual winners since the 16-17 racing season. I think they're pretty interesting stats. I mean, you can make stats say whatever you like, of course, but I think that's an interesting aspect of what has been going on in recent times. The number of horses bred has clearly decreased, and we haven't really seen decreases in the field sizes. And the only way that can be done is by this stat actually ending up coming to pass, where people are finding that horses that they might not have raced in the past are now actually able to race. So I'd love to dig a little deeper into these stats to see how many times they're racing and get the next layer of stats. And I'd love for HRA to provide some of that info, because I think it's important. The national rating system is far from perfect, and many people have got aspects that they don't like about it. But this needs to be recognised as an aspect of where more people are getting their horses to the races. Now, what I'd like to know is how many times they're actually racing.
I quite like the rating system in a way. We have a couple of horses, Mac Cheddar and Be Littled, and it works for those guys. They have a few bad runs, they drop back, but they stay up, and they're above that 50 rated racing. I do believe, I think it's over 50% of our horses are 50 and below, and that has caused a little bit of an issue on a few things. So if they could work that out, if all the states could get together and say, right, we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. Yep, I definitely think it can help. The other problem that there is that this rating system has occurred, and you know as well as I do as a breeder and a seller, the demand for horses or the demand for stock is not as high. So there's not as many people going to a yearling sale to purchase horses, which makes it then harder for the breeders. And then that has a flow-on effect right through the industry when we're not breeding the numbers. And people like Alex Ashwoods and those guys, they're going to the sales, but instead of needing 20 horses, they probably need 4 or 5 because they've got enough of those other rated horses. So there definitely needs to be ironing out. But those stats are exactly what you said. They prove that there are some good things happening. If 60% of our horses are winning a race, well, that's massive.
No, that's 60% going to the races.
Going to the races, sorry. So
yes,
how many?
So it's foal crop utilisation. So it's basically saying that in the past, of every 10 horses that were bred, 5 went to the races. We're now getting 6. So there's still 4 out of 10 who don't get to the races. And we know why. There are horses that pass away. There are horses that get injured. There are horses that just can't be bothered racing. And then there are some that just aren't good enough. But it's important that we get that utilisation up, especially, and so we just minimise our wastage as much as we possibly can. It is an important aspect of equine welfare that we minimise wastage. And it appears, and there'll be other things at play here, but one thing the national rating system has done is clearly give people the feeling that they can get their horse to the races. And as I say, I'd like to know more. I'd love to know the next layer. How many starts are horses having? And what are some of those stats that are occurring? Because, yes, it's not a black and white thing. There's many layers to this.
No, and like you said, breeding numbers are dropping in that, but if we're still able to maintain the product, I think that's what they were trying to achieve and going on. But there is also, as I say, there's that flow-on effect that potentially if they're not breeding as many, what does happen 5-6 years ago? Yeah,
that's right. So once again, we need to see, we need to be able to transplant, push ourselves 5 years into the future and see what will be the impact. So it needs to be watched. It needs to be looked at. For the moment, we seem to be surviving with the amount that we're breeding. The race fields across the country are quite reasonable averages.
No, you're right. Sorry. Oh, well, I was actually going to say, like Echuca tonight, 11 races. And I don't think there was a 6-horse field. I don't think I saw a small field there at all. And that's one thing that I really like as a person trying to sell the industry, but also like for the industry as well. When we see these fuller fields, these race fields, there's 11 races, and just going through them, that one had 8, 9, but 10, 9, 8. So 8's your smallest, no 6-horse fields, and the last 3 are 10, 11, 10, 11, 12. With emergencies, obviously, so at 11. So massive numbers on a Wednesday night in the middle of winter. Don't kid yourself, it's the middle of winter in Echuca. That wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. Our numbers would have been dropping. Would have been trying to get fields for Breeders' Crowns and Vic Breds and things like that across the line. So things are working the right way.
Oh, absolutely. And, maybe that's, unless you wanted to talk about something else, it's a bit of a segue into the fact that July is just around the corner. We've got the new racing set up, the new weekly racing set up that we're all going to get used to. It's the last couple of weeks have been a similar lead in where the structure has been similar, but moving into next month we start to get the new setup.
I've got it. Didn't come up. Hang on a sec. I'm just trying to refine it. There we are. So just to get the Victoria part for you.
Yep.
So actually, I did one thing wrong. Sorry, Nick. So, well, that's actually probably as good a point as any, though. This is June right at the minute in Victoria, and we are all over the shop, fair to say.
Yes, well, that's to a degree. That's right. You see some structure. Cranbourne down the Sunday column is obviously dominating the Sundays. Melton through the Saturdays. Mildura with their regular Fridays. The rest of the week, Melton getting more midweek meetings as well. And then so it's been June's a bit of a hybrid between the past and the future, but July. We move into that. We're once again working from the right. Cranbourne with the majority of Sundays, certainly through the winter months. Melton every Saturday. Mildura and Melton on Fridays. Ballarat and Kilmore on our Thursdays. Bendigo every Wednesday night with other clubs rotating through the Wednesday afternoon time slot. Macca and his crew at Shepparton busy on a Tuesday night. And in fact, Mondays, which with the exception of a Warragul meeting, are basically empty. And I think that's partly because Mondays were a bit of a turnover graveyard. So we get the double up on the Wednesday instead, and a fair bit of the industry get Mondays off unless they're heading to the trials. Yeah. When I say Mondays off, that's in inverted commas. We know everyone will work 7 days a week, but a day off from going to the races.
And again, yep, and that's right. And then there's the August calendar. So if you want to have holidays through winter, you've got a fair idea of where you're actually going to be going in amongst. So like a lot of those, you can look there, but you will know early in the week. If you're from the Western Districts, you'll know that Tuesday, Wednesday, you're pretty sweet. You're not going to be travelling to Shepparton or Bendigo. You might go to Ballarat on the Thursday, but then you have Melton and Geelong on the Saturdays. So being able to go from there. And then a club that you're tied with, and I think it's great for them too, Nick, Cranbourne racing predominantly a lot of Sundays.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm on the committee down there. So my comments about Cranbourne need to be taken in that context. But, yes, it's something that the club has pushed for a while. Cranbourne obviously has the population around it, being in that southeastern edge of Melbourne. The training centre there is doing a great job, and I think they're 2 wins away from 500 wins. So the team there is doing a great job. The Sundays certainly suit in allowing participants to get across town without the traffic worries of the rest of the week. So the club is quite pleased with what it has been dealt in the new setup. It's going to be interesting to see, Paul, and maybe this is something when you're out and about, and it might be something for you to do in 2 or 3 months' time to actually do a bit of a pop quiz or Vox Pop or whatever you call it of some of the trainers and the drivers, and ask them how the change in the calendar has changed their behaviours. Are they now finding themselves travelling less? Are they able to organise their weeks a bit more because they know that they're racing on certain dates? Have they seen positives or negatives? Because I think that sort of feedback is going to be interesting as people are able to actually plan their weeks a little more. It won't work for everybody, because if you've got a certain horse, you might go, well, I've got to go here anyway because there's only one race a week for it. I don't have a choice. But for a lot of trainers, they may well find this helpful.
Well, Dan Malecki, I'll never get him on this show because Wednesday nights are trivia nights. I don't know where exactly it is, but he knows that he's not calling, so he'll never call Bendigo Trots. But so he'll be fine with that. He knows Lockie Mack's there, so he'll be comfortable. Luke can come off the bench, or Daniel's just up the road. So from his point of view, he'll be more than comfortable with that, knowing that thing. But you never know, like Lance Justice, or Lance is probably a bad one because he's on the thing. But Joe Pace, he might want to go to those same trivia nights. Well, now he can say, well, I can because I'm not going to race at Bendigo, and things along those lines. There's so many other things. But visit your parents, visit your friends, take it. Date night. Like who knows what it'll do for some of the relationships. They can say, rightio, we can plan. And instead of saying at lunchtime we finish the horses early, we'll go out for a date. They can say, right, we've got Wednesday night clear, or Tuesday night clear. We'll go out for a date. So you never know what could happen.
Trot's Tinder could be going off, especially with that hat up behind you. It's a very nice hat, that one.
It stays up there. Don't worry. It wasn't strategically positioned there for that reason. It just is actually put up there. A little bit of.
I'll get you to bring up. Well, let's bring this back to a G-rated show. I'll get you to bring up that screen again and just open up because some of the programming, I had a little bit of a look, not an exhaustive look, at some of the programming because I just found some interesting.
Which months do you want?
For July.
For July. Yep.
There was some interesting program. Obviously, there's a lot of races for where the horses are in the bulk of the. That's just the way that it is. You've got a horse that's rated 47. You'll have, 15 different opportunities to race during any given week because that's where the bulk of the horses are. But there was just some interesting programming that I saw. There's quite a few mares races. Sorry.
I just want to stop you for 1 sec because we've had 2 very important comments. Timmy Garrett, looking forward to the calendar. As someone who used to run catering at Cranbourne, it will make so much easier to schedule and suit for everyone. So that's a definite positive. I wasn't sure where this one was going, but Jess Tubbs, we can't wait to be able to plan our lives. I thought she was going to go down the Tinder line or the date night. I wasn't sure exactly where she was going, but she just said be able to plan our lives a little bit more. Great initiative in our opinion. So, God knows they wouldn't be able to date because Greg will be on one side of the world and Jess will be on the other. So they've got no chance there.
No comment. Move on.
Right. What race meeting did you want? What were you after?
Well, if you go to the Friday, pick a Friday at Melton. So not your Saturday program. That's a Saturday.
Whoops, sorry.
So go to a Friday at Melton.
July 12th, I went.
Yeah. So there was some interesting conditions, especially more for horses, probably in the above 50 sort of range. A lot of mares races being programmed. Quite a few interesting races like that top one, $9,000 race restricted to horses that have not won more than one race with an advertised stake money of $15,000 in the last 12 months. The field, depending upon how many they got, they were going to, cut it on national rating.
Yep.
Again, an interesting type of race that will suit certain types of horses. Scrolling down, there was a 0 to 1 win pace a little further down there.
Yep,
and,
just that race there.
Yep, and again in the trotters, there's utilising those similar sort of conditions. So it's and again utilising that not in the last 12 months because as we know on the Saturday nights they run those regular sort of pseudo MOs where horses that haven't won a race of more than 15 grand. But if your horse won a race as a 2-year-old, it's not eligible for them. So I like the fact that You've got these extra adjustments. It's within the last 12 months. They're that sort of sub-metro type of race, but just gives owners and trainers a couple of choices. Which one of the problems with horses, 50% of the horses being rated below 50, the pool of horses north of 50 is a little thin by comparison, especially when you split it by gate as well. So
and I've purposely went to the Saturday night afterwards.
Yeah,
that's definitely, like, it's not, as you said, it's a pseudo metro meeting. I'll just go back to that one there as well. So they're catering for horses up to 80 rated, 70 rated mares, 50 to 60s, and then just quickly up to 80 rated trotters. But then if you go to, that's on the 12th, then if you go to the 13th, they're still well and truly, there's the Koala King's an open-ended race. Then you've got a 70 to 89. So, some of those horses could go in both, but the flip side of it is, they can go there for the better money. But if they're out of form, they can go back to that Friday.
Yes.
And then you go to your trots as well, a 70 to 85, you've got your up to 105. So they are catering and almost catering for people to, if you like, self-regulate, Nick. If you're out of form, if you're out of form, don't go to the Saturday night. Go to the Friday.
That's right, and there's a significant prize money difference, so you take that into account. I'll be interested to see how this programming stands up with the pool of horses to see whether there are adequate numbers and that they don't end up getting cancelled or 2 races with only 8 in it rather than a big field. But time will tell as we go through July, and they're just a couple of examples that I noted, and I think there are some others. And there's one thing I've enjoyed in recent times that the racing team have tried a few different things. Some of them I thought were, I didn't quite like, or I didn't think it'd work or whatever. But what I think doesn't matter. The key is, what does the industry think, and it votes with its feet in terms of these races and how they stand up.
Yeah, and anyone wondering, I was just looking through that same weekend at Shepparton and then at Bendigo, or at Shepparton on that same night. So we'll just go, there was an up to 80. So there's an up to 70, so people don't have to travel all the way to Melton. It's a 60 to 70 rated race, so your high-end horses are covered there. Up to 65 at Bendigo, so, but of course it's only an hour up the road, so you've got to be able to cater for these both ways, and a 55 to 64 at Ballarat. So that's on the 11th. Now, it's going to be a bit confused. I'll go to the 25th, 55 to 64. I reckon, unfortunately, I picked the wrong 2 clubs there, because I noticed Bendigo and Shep, they were alternating. So between those races, I'll go to Bendigo and Shep. The week after at Bendigo is a 60 to 70. So the week before at Bendigo, whoops, that's Hamilton. Sorry, Nick, I'm hitting too many buttons. Going as quick as I can. Is an up to 65. The next week it's an up to 70. So they're going up and down. And this is obviously at the top end. Then the week after is back up to a 70. So they're definitely going to be fluctuating. So it's not like you have to travel if you've got a good horse and a Melbourne horse. They're going to be able to look at you after you. But if you want to chase the real good money, Saturday night.
Yeah. So I think we were discussing it at the Cranbourne committee meeting last night in terms of how this will all play out. And we made it call it, after, 3 months, we were going to do a bit of analysis to see how it was impacting our fields and our racing, as I'm sure each of the clubs will do. So I think the next few months are going to be fascinating. There'll be a few things that won't work. There'll be a few teething problems. There will be, as we all get used to it. Some meetings will end up with enough horses they could probably run 14 races, maybe, because that's where everyone wants to go. And there'll need to be some adjustment. And people may well be able to actually make commercial decisions about how they train, where they have their horses, based upon what this actually offers. So I'm, fascinated to see what this is going to look like come Christmas when we've bedded it down for 6 months.
I think people need to be aware too, when you say that about, where they want to go. There was a couple of things put out last week, and they wanted, more races at a set club. But that then means, because they don't have lights and timing, you need to start earlier. And it's proven that no one bets when they start earlier. So for the industry's sake, we don't start earlier. We get TAB turnover. It's been well spoken. The TAB turnover is up. It's a sneaky little rumour. I think for 5 weeks straight, definitely 4 weeks straight, TAB turnover on harness racing is on the improve. Could be a heap of factors with that because it's colder. People are inside. There's no prime time TV. There could be 100 factors in it, but right at the minute it is going up, and that's the way we need it to go.
The key there is the comparative. What's happening with the greyhounds? What's happening with the gallops in Victoria? What's happening with harness racing in other states? I had a short conversation with Cam Brown, who heads up Rawa, the harness side of things there, and just in very broad terms, he was, some of the turnover figures, and that they actually had some positive months, and he said, that was the first we've had for a while, and I'm not giving up anything commercially there because that's the way that all three codes across every state had been faring over the last, I'll loosely say 12 months. They all of them do the comparison between what did we get for May in 2024, how did it compare to May in 2023, and everyone was finding themselves down. And and so to find ourselves with an uptick in this market, I'd love to know whether it's a rising tide is capturing, rising all boats, or whatever that stupid phrase is that I've buggered up. But are we the ones going up and the thoroughbreds and the greyhounds are going down, or are we all going up by 5%? So if they're still flatlining or going down and we're going up by 5%, then that is a strong indication that some of the initiatives are working and that the market is responding.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. The flip side of that is we need everyone going up because we need more going through it. I know we want to get our market share up, but yeah, we definitely need the whole lot going.
Oh, we want everybody. There's no doubt. We want everybody going up. We just want to be going up by more than the others. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's call it as it is. Bang. We want more.
And it is just a quiet secret, but I've had it told to me by 3 or 4 people, so I don't think it's anything. And it's not, as I said, they're not celebrating it. They're not jumping out of the rafters saying we've fixed everything by any stretch. They definitely haven't done that, but they would just like to go there. Wayne Lloyd said that would be fabulous for our 5,000. Not sure what that means actually. 5,000 people. Not sure actually. Anyway, it's just little steps. So hopefully it is working. I think field sizes being bigger this time of year is also another tick. So that part is a good. So there's plenty of good things happening.
Yeah, and look, and given it's really been a really really rough 12 months, and it amazes me in a sense, and then it doesn't. The resilience of harness racing people and their love for the sport, everyone keeps on keeping on. It's been I think the phrase is a shit show over the last 6 to 12 months. Prize money a mess, and yet everyone's still turning up, having a crack, and you got to love our sport and the people in our sport.
Yeah, I hate the negativity. I think one thing people need to be aware of when you write something on a Facebook post, everyone sees it. We need to get more people into the game. We don't need the negativity from participants. I think sometimes just sit on your hands, count to 10. And if you still want to type it, count to 10 again. And if you still want to type it again, well, perhaps you can send it. But yeah, really have a good think about what you are sending. See if it's going to help you or the industry. And if not, delete. Trust me, I do a lot of things. I'm sure you do too, Nick.
No, it's look, it's yes, that's right. I mean, we've got to celebrate the positives. We've got to work hard together and continue to work to produce a product that people want to bet on. And the greyhounds and the gallops are clearly competitors, but every other sport is now our competitor in the sense that if Joe Bloggs, age 26, has got $1 in his pocket and decides that he or she wants to bet it, there is more and more often that dollar is going into sports betting as opposed to racing, and that is our biggest threat. Why? because at the end of the day, people understand, or think they do anyway, what's going on in a game of football, what's going on in a game of cricket, whatever it happens to be. They don't understand our product, average Joe. They need education on our product. We need to help them out. Punters just don't wander in. We've got to find a way to connect with them. What was interesting over COVID, and there'll be a psychologist that have a field day with this, was that our uptick was with young males who predominantly bet on basketball in the United States. They were the ones, apparently, I remember being told, that were the ones that were transferring to harness racing. I don't know why. I throw it out there. If someone can give us a reason why that type of person finds an attraction between the two sports, that's our market. Then let's find it. Maybe it's connecting with the NBA on in harness racing better. I don't know.
Timmy Tetrick does that in North America. I forgot the guy's name that he does it with, but he embraces it. So does the other guy. The guy he embraced it from Ukraine. Ukraine harness racing. So his name just Lucic. I think anyway. It doesn't matter. No, I agree. And back to that HRA announcement that seems to have just been announced quietly. One way we can improve our industry is if you're an owner of a horse, if you're unlucky enough to own 3 horses and they're in those 5 horses that didn't make the races up until these latest stats have come out, hopefully now one of your 5 horses, can be one that does make the races and start celebrating it. So there's so many of those things we need to celebrate as well.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And bring it in. I've got a couple of little things I want to point out. In New Zealand, there's a fair bit going on in New Zealand. Carter Dalgety going to America. So for 6 to 8 weeks, Matty Markham pointed that out. Actually, Bet and Win is in Australia too, but that's another story for another day. That's one of my sponsors, What the Hill. He's heading up to the Great Square, of course, sponsored by Harasta Trotters. Clinton McSwain, I'll get to you in a second. A bit of other stuff. Right, here's one. Winton on Saturday. There's going to be a horse having its first start called Kathy Friedman.
Right. I hope it's a filly.
Yeah, it is. It's I reckon it's by Sweet Lou. Mark Jones is training it. Bear with me. I'll try and find it. Mark Jones definitely is training it. I think it was in race 1, actually. Yep, there it is there. I can bring it up, actually, what I'm doing this. It's a 2-year-old.
Are they running it in an all-in-one jumpsuit?
True. It's by Sweet Lou out of Trey Vital, Better's Delight mare, so who hasn't done anything. But, yeah, it's an early start. So 11:40 a.m., that's actually 9:40 our time. You've got to take 2 hours off to down Winton Way, and it has drawn 10. But, yeah, Sam Ottery driving for Mark Jones. So, there's a little one that a few people wouldn't have been aware of going from there. Well done to Nathan Williamson training 400 winners. They call him the GOAT. Now, you know why they call him the GOAT? Not because of his driving ability. Pool shark. If you ever go to the Ascot Park Hotel, do not play him in pool. He's the GOAT. He is the GOAT of the Ascot Park Hotel.
All right. Okay.
So here's a gun. Now, a mate of ours that tunes into this show, and I don't know if you know Michael House personally or not, but he's a great man. This is the highs and lows. I should have done a little card for this. This is the highs and lows of harness racing. So he was in the amateur drivers race series, 5 races, I think there was. He sent around 8 horses at Addington. So well done to him for that. He put 8 of his own horses in, which comes back to be a bit of a cruel twist at the end of it. So his first winner, I think, might have been his first winner for the series, or the second one. Anyway, brought up his 50th win as a driver. So he's an amateur driver. So brought up his 50th win as a driver. The 4th heat on the final day, he Quinella'd the race, which brought up his 800th winner as a trainer. But the problem with that was, so he Quinella'd it, but he also drove in the race. His horse was pulled up. So he went from leading by 3 to then being out the back. So he Quinella'd that as a trainer. He then goes into race 4. He had 3 horses in that, didn't go any good. He runs 6. He's got 6 weeks for an unruly whip. He got $50 for something else as well. Talk about the highs and lows of an industry in the space of 3 days, which is a long time in New Zealand harness racing. He's had everything happen. He's a very passionate man. He loves the sport, and I just saw that. I thought you just got to have half a giggle to that.
Yes. Yeah, chocolates to boiled lollies and back again.
You just picture him in the stewards room when he went there. Yes, we did mention Deb Hildebrandt winning one of the Volunteers of the Year. Clinton McSwain. Absolutely, we need more volunteers. We need more passionate people. I do work. I know they've got their meeting in Bendigo. It's in Christmas time. I think I can tell you. I'll just give me 2 seconds because I just got to find the date. But it's the second last week of the year, 18th. So on the 18th of December will be the Elmore Harness Racing meeting. So that's a pretty important time as well. So for those guys, so they run a lot of fun. It's not your normal Bendigo meeting. It's a lot of fun. So that part is definitely for sure. So yeah, but that was sort of all I had. We did have the State of Origin thing up at the start, but I lost my way on that when we had an awful start to the show, Nick.
Who's winning? South Australia, WA's?
I don't think, or it might have only just started. So,
is it? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got enough things going on here at the minute. We've had enough internet issues. You had no internet. I had no internet. We had all sorts going on. So, mate, thank you. We're going to do this more regularly. We'll do it a little bit smarter as well. And go from there. It'll be running coincide with Bendigo. I might try and do some out at Bendigo. I might even go out to Bendigo next week. And do a live show from there, whether I catch up with you on the phone or something along those lines for a brief chat. We'll go from there. But thank you. Really do appreciate it. Probably a little bit boring through parts of it with the awards, but I think we need to acknowledge these awards and put them out there because, you know, they're achievements for people.
Very much so. Not boring at all. People would love that. I mean, recognition of those that have done well is so important. So, nicely done. Thank you for having me on. And actually, the only thing I wanted to close on was, you've got one more?
Yeah, no, I do. Nutrient Equine, sponsors of mine, they actually, with HBV, I didn't do them I think you had to break 56 for a pacer for the Speed Awards. They sponsored, anyway, Nutrient were one of the sponsors. So well done to everyone. There's quite a few people, and I didn't see that on there, but yeah, they definitely were the sponsors. Desiree will send me a message later on. I sent you that in an email and she did, but anyway, yeah, they were the sponsors of the fastest time as well. So APG, Minitube, Woodlands, Northern Rivers. I'm in trouble, Nick. There's one other one I reckon, but anyway, great supporters of HBV, and HBV have been great supporters of mine, of course, when you were there, and then also now you're not there, they're still supporters of mine, so that part's always good. Right, you're closing now because I didn't want to interrupt it.
No, very good. Look, it was just Saturday night's program at Melton. 5 mares races. Most of them, all of them finals from various heats, sources, different grades of horses, different the gates as well. I'm a little bit biased racing a couple of mares, but I think that's fantastic. I hope punters embrace the concepts, and well done to HRV for programming some really nice races with some really progressive mares in them. So we'll see how it goes. But that was just the key thing for me looking forward.
And we're not done just yet either, Nick. I just got those up there as well. So there are plenty of races. 3-year-old trotters. There's some nice 3-year-old trotters starting to step out as well. But one other one too. We did say we were going to mention it too. Alabar have announced their stallion roster. Yes. Exciting with Tactical Approach on.
Yeah, very much so. So our 2 Lower Long Farms and Alabar have announced their rosters and their prices in the last couple of days. Tactical Approach joins Alabar. Volstead joins Lower Long Farms. Volstead done an amazing job, so there'll be a lot of interest in him, I'm sure. And Tactical Approach, Brett and the crew have done a wonderful job to get him down here in the flesh. So interesting times ahead for those that are breeding breeding trotters, and with the Storm Inside, Poster Boy, Soho, Tribeca, their horses, their progeny hitting the track. They'll be popular, and both farms I noted kept those stallions at about the same price. Might have been exactly the same price. So good news for breeders there that they've got proven stallions they can go to, and a range of prices available at both farms. So well done to the Alabar and Lowalong farm teams.
And Arasta Trotters aren't far off announcing theirs. I don't think there's any new names, but pretty exciting. A couple of little exciting things that will suit a couple of states, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see what Pat and the team come up with. The list is incredibly strong, and so yeah, looking forward to their announcement, which I'm sure will be very soon.
We'll get into trouble if we don't mention Aldebaran Park. He done a teaser on me that said he might be bringing out another sire when he went over to his recent trip over to the Elite Lot. Any word? Have you heard anything at all?
No, I haven't. Come on, Dunk. Let's give us an announcement, mate. We're all ears, so we need to know what Aldebaran Park are doing as well.
He hasn't said anything there at all. Plus, there's a lot of other studs as well, which is exciting. Big numbers, which is what we want. We want to keep breeding. We want to get breeding improving, and have big cards, big competitive cards going forward. So that's what we like to do, mate. Thank you. This time I will let you go. We didn't forget that. I've been watching a few races at Echuca. I was keeping up with your Cranbourne. You're still 2 wins away, but well done to everyone at Cranbourne. I think what they're doing behind the scenes is outstanding. So well done to you for that. But yeah, always enjoy talk and harness racing with you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. Good fun times, and hope everyone gets a winner soon.